Guys, what's going on? I got another build for y'all. This is newer for me. I have actually never made a zero crit build before, but had some requests for some Black River play, so I have made a pure dot Black River build. Let's go into what makes this build. A couple things to note: my gear is not min-maxed whatsoever. You're going to see some gear that I'm talking about that is not actually really there. That's okay. It's in the planner for what you actually need. Alright, so for the head slot, we're going to be slotting in a rare helmet. Godslayer is perfectly fine for now, but when we get to Zir, we're going to want the extra armor. So we're going to use a rare helmet with intelligence, total armor, cooldown reduction, lucky hit chance while you have a barrier. For the chest plate, we're going to run armor and 3 DRs with the shielding storm. Howl from below for the gloves. For the pants, disobedience, again with an armor, 2 DR slots, and 4 to CE. For the boots, we have Flicker Step. This is incredibly important for this build since we are using Bone Storm, but we are not using Lidless. Lidless is not really best in slot for this build simply because we want some extra stats as well as the aspect. So we're going to use the Flicker Step for there, and it's incredibly strong. You can keep Bone Storm up pretty much indefinitely throughout entire dungeon. Black River, of course. For the amulet, we're going to run Corpse Skills, Gloom, movement speed, cooldown reduction. You could slot in some armor here, especially for Zir instead of the CDR. The Ring of the Sacrilegious Soul is incredibly huge. I have a really bad one, but that's alright. And then the second ring is going to be the Blood Soaked with Vulnerable, Shadow Damage over time, and Damage to Shadow Damage over time effective enemies. One thing to note with this build, you are going to need a second Poison Ring. This is by nature you need 2 due to the stats here. So you see, if I had the second poison, I'd be fully poison resist cap, or all resist cap, as well as our armor cap currently with disobedience. For the Book of the Dead, we have Reaper Sacrifice for the extra shadow damage. We have Cold Mage's Sacrifice for extra vulnerable, and since we're not going for crit and we don't need attack speed, we slotted in extra life here just for a little bit extra life and barriers. For event powers, we have Domination, Anticipation just to help out with that Bone Storm, Flowing Veins for the extra damage over time, Prey on the Weak to keep up vulnerable as well as a little bit of increased damage, and then we have Metamorphosis because it's Metamorphosis. Alright, so let's talk about the skills in the Paragon. So for our skill tree, we have 2 into Reap just to get into the next tier. We don't use Reap for this build, 5 into Blight, 1 into Enhanced, and then 1 into Supernatural for the additional 15% X, 3 into Hued Flesh, 1 into Blood Mist, 1 into Enhanced Blood Mist, 1 into Ghastly. We have Corpse Explosion, we cap that out with 5, then Enhanced and going into Blighted. Just 1 into Grim Harvest, that's so we can get into the Fueled by Death for the extra damage. Amplify Damage, Decrepify, Enhance, and Abhorrent Decrepify. For our passives, we catch everything and only 1 into Crippling, the rest are capped. Then we have 1 into Corpse Tendrils, Enhanced Corpse Tendrils, and the Plague, just to keep up the vulnerable. Then we've got 3 into Standalone, 3 into Memento, 1 into Bone Storm, Prime Bone Storm, and Supreme, and of course into the Shadow Blight. As far as the Paragon goes, we are running 7 boards. I'm going to run through these real quickly. Some highlights. Sacrifice on the first board, so we get the extra damage over here and the extra armor. Moving into Wither, we do, of course, take the legendary node here, Wither, and in the Wither board we have Abyssal. Just meeting the 29 here, and we get a little extra damage from the shadow damage, as you see here, as well as some shadow resistance. Our third board is over to this side, which we have the Scent of Death, slotting an Amplify here. And then over to our Flesh Eater board with Exhumation. Still looking at the board a little bit. Probably can squeak a couple more points so we can get this full to 75. At least to 65. And then into our Bone Graft board, we just have the Darkness. And then Bloodbath, we have Scourge. And then way up here at the top, we have our last glyph. We have our Blood Begets Blood with Control. Alright, so let's talk about what this build does. So we are stacking as much damage from our dots as we can. All of our gear is based around it, all the Paragons based around it. And it's important to note that you get a couple of factors that really drive up the damage. Of course, your 10 things of Shadow Blight to get your Blighted Chain or your Blighted aspect going, but also making sure everything's vulnerable, amplified. Also, when you throw down Blight, you get an additional 15 times damage, and then the more you spam your Corpse Explosion, the more damage you get to stack into this. Currently, we're getting upwards of 30 mil on our dot ticks once it's ramped, so it's pretty substantial. Um, and so the big things to note for this build is as you're running through dungeons, and you'll see it in the tier 100 video shortly, you want to just make sure you're dashing to keep up your Bone Storm with your Flicker Step. Um, I really only use Blood Mist if I absolutely need a corpse, or if I get in a really sticky situation, or if I'm just running from pack to pack with the additional speed that Blood Mist gives. Um, the damage is all going to be from your BCE and your Blight. The Bone Storm dot does do some, but it's not going to get you your 30 mil ticks that your BCE is going to get you. And that's pretty much the rotation and the build itself. If you got any questions, you know where I'm at. Thanks, guys.